radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. All right, Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio. For the masses. Yeah. How you doing? Today's Monday, May 31st, 2021. 152 days into the new year. Only 213 days left. We are live from a bunker. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere. A total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful. That's right. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Happy Memorial Day. Hope you had a great, safe, fun, amazing, and food-filled weekend. It continues tonight, obviously. Some of you are, on a 3 or 4 day weekend, and you're spending your night with us tonight. That's fantastic. All right. What a week we've got coming up here on Fade to Black. Kicking it off with tonight, Billy Cox. Unbelievable. Billy Cox, the UFO journalist, joins us for the first time tonight. I've been trying to get Billy on the show for so long. But we have Billy Cox here tonight. An amazing event. I'm humbled and honored that Billy Cox is with us. And then tomorrow night, Lisa O'Hara is joining us also for the first time. We have 3 first-time guests this week. Lisa O'Hara is with us tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about her new book, Abducted and Furious. That is tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Lou Elizondo is back with us, and we're going to cover all of that DOD drama that is going around right now. It's absolutely incredible. So that'll be Wednesday night with Lou Elizondo. Let me get straight to it. And then Thursday night, another first-time guest, Ralph Blumenthal is here. So I've got 2 esteemed journalists with us this week, both for the first time, and tonight with Billy Cox, and then Thursday night with Ralph Blumenthal. And Ralph is going to be talking about his new book. It's a hit, bestseller, John Mack, Believer, and that will be Thursday night. So again, this week, no Fader night. Don't get upset. I'll squeeze in 30 minutes a night of open lines. Okay. I'll try to do that. Fader night is so special to me, but these shows are, I'm running out of time. I don't want to go to 5 days a week, but we might have to go to 5 days a week. Oh man, just suggesting that means it's going to happen. So let me retract that statement. All right. But what a week we've got coming up. All right. Now, and then at the end of this week, look, I'm going to make this announcement right now to everybody. I'm sure you've probably figured this out. But at the end of this week, I head to Laughlin, Nevada for the UFO MegaCon, and that's going to be going on for a week, June 6th through June 12th. So there are no shows next week. Don't send me email. Where's the shows? There's nothing on the podcast. There's nothing. I'm just telling you right now. No shows next week. I'm taking the week off to go and work for 7 days at the UFO MegaCon. You can get your tickets and information right now over at jimmychurchradio.com. It's going to be a great week, and I'm really looking forward to getting over to Laughlin. Okay, so there you go. And by the way, they've lifted all restrictions in the state of Nevada. Even the hotel said, the hotel staff, they're not, that's it. It's over. It's over. And very, very happy about that. A real in-person conference. So I'll see everybody down there. No shows next week. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. You saw what I posted today. I also popped it up over on Facebook too. Taking a quick poll. I posted Lou Elizondo's high school picture, and I texted Lou today and said, "Dude, I've got your high school yearbook picture. Permission to post," right? And he hits me back and goes, "Man, go for it. I look like Napoleon Dynamite." And we had a quick conversation about that. So I popped it up on Twitter, and look, there's no shame in my game. I posted my high school yearbook picture too as well, one of them. I think that's my junior year picture. And then I went and got my senior year picture, so I have that too as well. I think I'm wearing the same shirt. I'm just saying. They don't look that far off. But, yeah. So I did that, and I posted it over on Facebook. And I'm taking a poll. Who's got the best yearbook picture, me or Lou? And I'm going to take a poll. We'll announce the numbers of the poll Wednesday night when Lou joins us on the show. It's going to be a big night. Big week here on Fade to Black. All right? Now, I can't believe I have to make this announcement. I'm going to get to the breaking news. This announcement came today from KCOR, the digital radio network. Radio host, author, and researcher, prolific, Tim Beckley, has left this earth, known as Mr. UFO, and of course, host of Exploring the Bizarre, passed away last night. Now, this is very sad news for our community, and our thoughts and prayers. I got a lump in my throat. Our thoughts and prayers go to his family during this difficult time. And I just have to say, the last couple of months, I have been walking around in complete sadness. It has not ended. And today we get this announcement from KCOR about Tim Beckley. It just, man, I need the sadness to end. You know, I just do. I do. I'm in a funk. But our thoughts and prayers seriously go to Tim, his radio family, everybody over at KCOR. Just tragic news today. All right. Well, I'm going to get to some happy news. A giant tortoise in the Galapagos Island that was thought to have gone extinct over a century ago has just come out of hiding. Researchers discovered the female tortoise on the Galapagos Fernandina Island during a joint expedition carried out by the Galapagos National Park Directorate and the Galapagos Conservancy back in 2019. All of this according to their statement today. They nicknamed her Fernanda. The team at Yale University compared this tortoise's genes to those discovered back in 1906 and confirmed Fernanda was indeed the same species. Absolutely incredible. Now, ISS, the International Space Station, a piece of junk, space junk, smacked into the robotic arm on the International Space Station, but near-term operations should not be affected according to the agencies involved. robotic operators noticed a hole in the station's it during a routine inspection back on May 12th. Officials called the hole a lucky strike, given the relatively small size of the arm, which is about this big around, it's 57 feet long, but a diameter of just 14 inches. And there it was. Results of ongoing analysis indicate that the arm's performance remains unaffected. The damage is limited to a small section of the arm boom, the thermal blanket. It's right there. It looks like a bullet hole. Pretty crazy. Well, the end of the pandemic, right? Are we here? A midnight curfew for New York bars and restaurants officially ended today. Another major milestone as the state gradually reopens from the coronavirus pandemic-induced shutdown. Governor Andrew Cuomo announced in April that the longstanding restriction on indoor dining would officially end on May 31st. Establishments can return that their liquor licenses or other regulations allow. Now, the coronavirus numbers. Let me go. I am going to give you the latest update right now. Let me pull this up. And I can do it this fast because I have it bookmarked. So let's see where we are today. Let's see. Okay, so this is what is so incredible. The coronavirus numbers in the United States have dropped dramatically in recent days. And yesterday, the reported cases were just 7,848. That seems remarkable, right? And today, right now, as of showtime, the number has dropped again to just 5,235. Now, compared to just 4 months ago when the number was in the hundreds of thousands, it's a clear sign that we may finally be at the end of the pandemic, at least here in the United States. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and the numbers in India dropped dramatically. Today, only 126,000. Big number, but they were doing 400,000 a day just a couple of weeks ago. So the numbers are dropping, and they are dropping fast. I need to get to the end of this. So does the rest of the world. All right, now I've got some Kim Kardashian news. It's not what you may think, though. Okay? Now check this out. She's in the news again, but this time she has landed herself in an illegal art smuggling controversy after an ancient Roman sculpture was imported by her to California. According to court documents filed this past Friday in California, the U.S. government has sought the forfeiture of a looted, smuggled, and illegally exported antique limestone sculpture, fragment of Myron's Samian Athena. It dates back to the 1st century A.D. and was bought by Kardashian from a Belgian art dealer. The piece was part of a 5.5-ton shipment having 40 objects in it with a stated value of just $745,000. It was described as, this 5.5-ton shipment, described as furniture and decorations rather than priceless archaeological finds. The form submitted by a customs broker lists the importer and consignee of the items as Kim Kardashian, DBA Noel Roberts Trust of Woodland Hills, California. The Noel Roberts Trust is an entity working with Kardashian and Kanye West's real estate properties. Art dealer and interior designer Axel Vervoort was identified in the court documents as the shipper. Vervoort works with Kardashian and West on their properties. Somebody has some splaining to do. All right. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. You knew this was coming. Clint Eastwood today is 91 years old. Now, best favorite Clint Eastwood movies. Yeah, okay. I'm going with two. High Plains Drifter, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Those are my two. And there's a lot of good ones. Brooke Shields today is 56. Colin Farrell today is 45. Of course, the star of In Burgess. I still can't say it. Minority Report. He's really good in True Detective as well on HBO. Leah Thompson today is 60. Of course, Back to the Future. And Corey Hart is 59. Sunglasses at Night. You forgot about that song, didn't you? Our dead guy's birthday today is John Henry Bonham. 1948 to 1980, died at the age of 32. John, of course, was the drummer for Led Zeppelin, but he is also regarded as one of the greatest and most influential drummers in history. A mostly self-taught drummer, Bonham's influences included Max Roach, the great Gene Krupa, and Buddy Rich. While primarily known for his hard rock style during his lifetime, Bonham's reputation as a drummer has grown beyond hard rock following his death and is now seen as one of the greatest drummers of all time. There's no question about that. In 2016, Rolling Stone ranked him first in its list of the 100 greatest drummers of all time. On September 24th, 1980, John spent the day rehearsing with the band Led Zeppelin and drinking heavily. Started at breakfast. Later that night, they went to Jimmy Page's house where he fell asleep and he never woke up. He was just 32 years old. Happy birthday, John Bonham. John Henry Bonham. John Bonham. All right. On this day in history, 1977, the BBC bans the Sex Pistols. God Save the Queen. That's right. The BBC quickly makes them the most famous band in the world. They blew that. You want to make somebody famous? Ban them. That's what you do. Just ban them. What a great record that was. Fate or fact? Okay, here you go. This is a fact. See how quickly this pops up. Madeline, love Corey Hart. That's funny. All right, fate or fact? Let's see how quickly this pops up in Twitter. SOAM, that's SOOAM, SOAM Biotech, a laboratory in Korea, makes genetically identical copies, clones of dogs for their pet owners. Now, for $100,000, 100,000 large, anyone who has a cell from any dog can get a clone. And that is your fate or fact. Tonight, very special guest. It's an honor and a privilege. Tonight, Billy Cox is here. The UFO journalist joins us for the first time. Tomorrow night, Lisa O'Hara is also here for the first time to talk about her new book, Abducted and all of this DOD drama that's going down right now. Thursday night, the one and only Ralph Blumenthal joins us. Also, for the first time, we're going to discuss his new book, John Mack, Believer. No fader night this week, everybody. All right? Again, I know, I get it. But we've got 4 great nights of Fade to Black. All right. Now it's time for me to hit this River Moon coffee. RiverMoonWellness.com. That's what keeps this show going, folks. I like my coffee, Doc. Yep, I do. Doc. I remember, before I get started here, I remember there was a place in Pasadena. I'm going to say 1985. I'm going 85. I don't think it was 86. Right off of Raymond Street, there was an alley next to the train tracks, and you walked down. You had to park and then walk. But it was called the Espresso Bar. Oh, my God. I'll never forget that first night I walked in there, and everybody just sitting around smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, and the smell, right? I had never had espresso before, not like that. And I'll never forget that I don't know, whatever it was, some chocolate mocha thing in a big mug, the whipped cream, the chocolate syrup on this espresso, that burnt, dark taste. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Still my thing. Still my thing. All right. Now I want to, he's actually late, and want to bring in Ronnie McMullen from Life Change Tea. Ronnie, you're late, man.
I didn't know if I was supposed to call you or you me.
Oh, man.
We were supposed to talk today, my friend.
Man. Oh, you're going to throw me under the bus.
I want to throw you under the bus. You need a good bus kicking.
I was like, man, I'm going to keep rambling here. But there you go. Ronnie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm just teasing you.
Yeah, I know you are. Ronnie is 10 minutes late, folks. He's 10 minutes late. But I can string it. I can string it along, Ronnie. I sound like I know what I'm doing.
No, you're the man. You can. It's filler. It's called filler, and you've got lots of it.
I got days of filler. I got days of filler, man. I'm like that fake goose down pillow. I am full of the filler. Full of filler. What's going on, Ronnie? Now listen. In the short time that we have left, what have you got going on over at Life Change Tea for the Fadernauts?
Well, you notice the economy's making everything go up. I mean, a 2x4 is like $12 now, and for all those construction workers out there, you're starting to throw a fit again, and I get it. So I thought it'd be cool that we throw a sale, and we keep our sales going, even though everything's going up high, and we haven't raised our prices at all. So I thought that was kind of cool. Instead, we have the Heart Lift special, which is really kind of a cool special because it is got the Heart Love, it's got the niacin, and it's got the tea. So it kind of a pick-me-up for your heart. And then we've got the grape seed, and we've got, of course, the tea, and that's another special. All on the front of getthetea.com. Scroll down, there's the two specials. And we still have the specials page. So you can't get any better with getting healthy in a time of everything going up so crazy in price.
Now, the Super Tea Grape Seed Extract Special, and the Fadernauts will even get free shipping with that.
Yes, just got to put Fader in the coupon code HIT, apply, and it will just create nice free shipping for them. Man,
you treat the Fadernauts with such respect, Ronnie. This is incredible. And the Heart Lift, though, that's pretty cool. Niacin Advanced, you get the tea. All of that for 70 large and free shipping.
And free shipping.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Let me look at the clock here. I want to jump over to the specials page. Okay. Now, see, some of these are exactly what I need. The bee pollen and super tea combo pack. That's the way to go right there. And let's see what else is going on the special page. Tea and more. Double tea. All right. Bark and tea. That's my favorite right there. What's the 4-play special? Let me see what this is. Super tea, sea vegetables, marine aminos, and sockeye salmon. Wow.
And so, you know what? Sometimes we don't, with the way we eat, we don't have enough oils in our body. Oil. I mean, it does a lot of good. Good for the joints and all kinds of good stuff.
It's good for your eyes, too. Lots of vitamin E.
Yes, it's very good for you. And, I don't know. Sometimes I believe we came from the sea a bazillion years ago, but maybe not. But I think the sea products are very, very good for you. And, of course, there's natural iodine in the sea veggies, so that's really good in case we get blown away.
And that's so, yeah, right. That's funny. So you get 4 in that for just $100. So that's $25 each and free shipping.
And free shipping.
Man, Ronnie, you are the absolute best, man. And I want everybody to visit getthetea.com. Ronnie has been with us for years. He's the reason why I am able to broadcast every night. Get the Tea has been by my side and my family's side for so long, and the Fadernauts, man. We love you so much. What's going on in your life? What's new over there?
Life is good. Things are happening, and I'm just still working on bottling the tea because a lot of people don't have the time to go boil the tea, and I want to make sure it's available in every Circle K, Whole Foods, Sprouts, whatever. And I'm very excited about it. We have a chance. And then, of course, we got to talk just 2 seconds about the race car that's coming to brand new race car. Brand new. Woohoo!
What is it?
It is a brand new off-road race car, 6200 class, and it's got a LS3 in it, so it's got a nice little Corvette engine in it, about 545 horsepower. And it is a rocker. It is a fast car. And so we're hoping to beat a few trophy trucks.
And hopefully I'll get to ride in it, actually, very soon. That was last.
Right. No. I know. But you wouldn't have rode in that car. You would have rode in the tin car, which is still kind of a wow car. Or you would have rode in the pre-runner, which that's got about 500 horsepower, and that's pretty scary. But this is a light car, 2-seater, not a 4-seater. It's a 2-seater and brand spanking new. And it's going to launch for Vegas to Reno. So that should be quite the race, and we're hoping to position ourselves driving.
Man, good luck to you and the team, the Get the Tea team, race car team. I've got about 30 seconds left. Did you watch the Indy 500 this weekend?
I did not. I have hardly any signal.
Castroneves. And I got to tell you that he's now in a very elite club with H.A. Foyt and Rick Mears and one of the Unzers, 4-time winner. And
wow.
and he pulled it off in the last 2 laps. And timed things perfectly, and we have another 4-time winner for the Indy 500. But it was pretty cool to see how happy he was, and him running up the entire. Fans were going crazy. They opened up, they lifted the block out. They only sold 135,000 tickets, but as far as I know, this is like the first sporting event that had people in it in like a year and a half. So that was pretty cool. And Helio's just a nice guy. Couldn't have happened to a better person, but it was a very exciting race.
Very cool. I'm hoping to catch some reruns.
I'll talk to you. Ronnie McMullen, getthetea.com. All easy to get to, getthetea.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. He's got the 2 specials currently running right there on the homepage. He's got the specials page, but what really matters is the Fadernauts. Promo code Fader, you get free shipping. Ronnie McMullen, thank you so much, my friend.
Love you, brother. Love the Fadernauts.
You're the best. Ronnie McMullen, Life Change Tea. Thank you so much, Ronnie. And I am going to take a quick break, and when I come back, Billy Cox is with us. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We've got an amazing week coming up on the show. I want everybody to go and visit getthetea.com. Promo code Fader. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back after this short break.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on jimmychurchradio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
This is Jimmy Church, and I'll be at the UFO MegaCon this June 6th through the 12th, 2021 in Laughlin, Nevada. The Laughlin UFO MegaCon is unique. It's 7 days of education and disclosure. It's unlike all other UFO conferences. The Laughlin UFO Mega Conference specializes in bringing you new people, offering new information and disclosure. All of this is offered at prices so low you can actually afford to be there. For instance, 7-night hotel packages, 1 or 2 people, start at just $320 inclusive. Education and disclosure is why the Laughlin UFO Mega Conference exists. Join us for all 7 days, or a half a week, or just a day or 2, but join us. Go to LaughlinUFOMegaConference.com. Register now. The only thing keeping you from being with all of us is you. Just go to LaughlinUFOMegaConference.com. Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark, with wild notes of pecan. Balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com
is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Billy Cox is with us. We've got a big week here on Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, Lisa O'Hara is here. We're going to talk about her book, Abducted and Furious. Wednesday night, Lou Elizondo. Thursday night, Ralph Blumenthal is with us. But tonight, it's all about Billy Cox. Billy joins us to discuss his life as a UFO journalist. And we're going to go through all of the recent headlines and mass media coverage on the subject. Billy has spent 45 years in the newspaper biz, 30 at the Florida Today, in the backyard of the Kennedy Space Center, by the way, and 15 years at the Sarasota Herald Tribune, which he just quit last month, by the way, in April. Billy isn't quite retired yet. He has just had his fill of Gannett. We'll talk about that, too, as well. He spent most of his time writing features, from gourd collectors to covering executions at Florida State Prison. Billy wrote his first UFO story back in 1980, shortly after his initial sighting the year before in Fringe Trail, more or less, sort of, ever since. I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black. It's an honor and a privilege to say welcome, Billy Cox. Billy, how you doing, man?
Hey, no, the honor and privilege is all mine, Jimmy. It's all mine. Please, stop it. Stop it.
Oh, man, it's so great to finally get you on the show. And before we get started, Billy, you get the first-time guest disclaimer. That's right. Which is this. Billy, it's just you and I sitting on my couch. Where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. And I kind of, I'm getting a weird echo here. I hope it's not going out over the airwaves. No, I think
I'm hearing it. I'm not hearing it. I'm fine over here.
Yeah, if you're not hearing it, then I think we're going to be fine. I'm looking at the meters. No, it's just me. Okay, it's strange. It's strange. Okay, I can ignore it. I want to start here before we jump back to Cocoa Beach, Florida, which inspired you to do this. I remember a teacher of mine in school for broadcasting, Billy, when I said, "What would you do?" And this person was from CNN. What would you do if you had a UFO sighting, a story with confirmation? Would you take it to your news director? And he looked at me and goes, never. Right? I would never do it. I was like, well, why? What if? No, UFOs in the media and journalism, no, that's a career ender. But you chose to go the opposite path. Did you fight the man over the last 30, 40 years?
That's a good question. I would have followed the same slow toe dip into the water. I will say that one of the books I really enjoyed 20 years ago was Terry Hansen's Missing Times. And he drew some lineage with partnerships between the news media, particularly I think it was UPI, some of the press services to World War II, and their cooperation with holding information with the Pentagon and the Defense Department. And a lot of that sort of made sense to me when I first read it. The idea that there might be collaboration when it comes to this exotic topic between the news media and the spooks or whatever. But as I got into this thing, me personally, I never encountered anything other than self-censorship. Nobody ever really said, Billy, don't ever write about UFOs. Now, I was reluctant to do so at first. I certainly didn't know a whole lot about it, but I felt like after my sighting in 1979, I was curious. I just didn't know what was going on. And then, lo and behold, manna from heaven, Cape Canaveral, there was a UFO symposium sponsored by the Gateway to the Stars. Gateway to the Stars was sort of a religious retreat, a facility put together by evangelical radio preacher Carl McIntyre. Probably most people won't remember Carl, but he was sort of a fixture there in Cocoa Beach. He spent his time between there and Pennsylvania. And during the Vietnam War in the 1960s, when he started Gateway to the Stars, he had a mock Vietnam village, if you can believe that. He was very pro-Vietnam War, next to, I guess, what he called a replica of Solomon's Temple. And when there was a ping-pong diplomacy, you may remember Nixon back in 1970, McIntyre thought that was treason, and he got the table tennis team from Taiwan to have a parallel tour. At the same time, the mainland Chinese ping-pong team. So anyway, he was kind of a lightning rod. He was a very controversial character, but twice a year, McIntyre would host these UFO symposium. And just a few months, well, maybe 6 or 7 months after my sighting in Cocoa Beach, he had a symposium there at his Gateway to the Stars, and that's when I first dipped my toe into the water. And I was actually... He said, Billy, look at this crazy UFO stuff. You know, they're talking about a face on Mars and aliens and deep freeze. Go check that out. You know, I told him I'd had this thing, this experience, and so it was the first. And you know, that was 41 years ago now, and I can't really say, Jimmy, that I'm any smarter today than I was back then. You know, it's weird.
Did you realize that as the years went by, you were probably the only beat writer that was doing this for a national news service?
Well, I knew that nobody else in daily newspapers was writing about this. I mean, that was pretty clear, and of course it was a lot more difficult here to keep tabs on what everybody else was doing. So, you know, that sort of networking, certainly not to the extent that we have today, but I couldn't find that anybody was doing. There would be wire service reports every now and then of a sighting, rash of sightings. Even the AP and the UPI back in the day would cover something happening supposedly over Russia or China, but it was sporadic. And, you know, going from that sort of choppy, piecemeal sort of coverage to this sort of more coherent, cohesive narrative that we have globally, it's like a small miracle. But I did not know, to answer your question, again, I did not know of anyone at the time who was doing the UFO stuff. And even my peers that I would tell them I'm interested in this, you know, you kind of, after a couple of rolled eyes and, you know, okay, I'm not very interested in this, chuckling, you learn to kind of keep this stuff to yourself. It wasn't, I don't know, I wouldn't say it was openly mocked, but there was a real skepticism there that I knew I got to choose my times and places when I talk to people about this stuff. That was very inhibiting.
Now, you chose to quit last month, and I read, I'm going to talk about your writing style here in just a minute, but you wrote, okay, look, I'm just going to put it out there straight. You started to get feedback from software, right? You are being evaluated on your writing style by word count and usage by software. Now, help out, and what? How is that possible?
Okay, well, so my blog, Devoid, which I started in 2007, after carefully feeling out my editor, my assistant editor, going so far up to the executive editor. When I first got there, I had been hired, but I was meeting these folks, and I said, and by the way, I did in UFOs, you know, and they would kind of I said, do you have any problems with that? Well, no, not as long as you can find a local angle. Kind of a giggle with it, but yeah, okay, Billy, whatever. Just get your work done. The other stuff. If you can find a local angle, we'll let you cover whatever you want to do. So, what was your question, Jimmy? I tend to ramble.
The software evaluation.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so finally in 2007, I got this WordPress blog going, and I never really understood this because most of the stuff is, I don't know, Esperanto to me. I don't really understand. I'm not very digitally inclined. I'm pretty much a troglodyte when it comes to this stuff. But down there at the bottom of the WordPress, there is SEO metrics, search engine optimization, where there's an algorithm where they can give you feedback on the way that programmers have decided what the ideal length, sentence structure, the cadence even of language should be. And evidently, I didn't realize this until earlier this year. I was told by my editor, and I've had 4 corporate owners in the last 10 years. We started out, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven when I first got here in Sarasota. It was the New York Times regional newspaper group. So I started out with them, then we got sold to something called Halifax, and then Halifax sold us to something called Gatehouse, and a couple of years ago, Gatehouse merged with Gannett. But all through these permutations, I was still able to keep my blog going. I certainly didn't advertise it all that much, but kind of kept it on the radar. And then earlier this year, I got the word from one of the editors, hey, Billy, Gannett is streamlining its blogs. They're trying to get rid of all the excess bone and fat, so to speak, and looks like yours isn't performing all that well, so you might want to think about transferring or shifting it to some other platform. And I said, what's the problem? Well, don't feel singled out. They're getting rid of a whole bunch of them. It's just one big fell swoop, and yours got caught up in the web. I said, well, again, I mean, what am I doing wrong? What don't they like? They said, well, it's readability. Check out SEO. I'm going, what? So I went, okay, oh my God, I'm looking. This thing has been there all along. I've just never taken a look at it. It's been evaluating my writing style, not so much content, but the way I was presenting certain facts or observations, and I was doing piss poor. I mean, I was getting like C minuses, D pluses. One of them said you had 3 consecutive sentences that started with the same word. It might have been the or a, who knows? But it got so pedantic, I couldn't believe it, and that was what I was being judged on. Now, I didn't quit the paper solely because of that. I was just very discouraged with the way things were going. We've had so many layoffs, and it's not just Gannett. I mean, every newspaper chain is going through the same sort of suffering. But we're cutting back, and 75% of our new digital subscriptions come from devices, not laptops, but handheld iPhones, smartphones, that kind of stuff. And so we've got to be able essentially to write to be able to hold someone's attention span for the length of a stoplight. That's kind of essentially it. With lots of subheads, maybe change the lead every couple of minutes or whatever. And I'd said, you know what, they've outgrown me or I've outgrown them. Things are changing. I can't keep up. This is not any fun anymore. And then when I was trying to get my blog transferred, they said, hey, Billy, you might want to do it. They're shutting down. This is on Friday afternoon. I get a call from my editor, and I said, can you hold the hounds off for at least 2 days so I can write a farewell blog, let people know, hey, goodbye. Well, I think I can do that, and I tried to log on to write my sayonara, and the thing had already been disabled.
Yeah, it's already, it's really funny for me to go and search for it. You can't find it.
There are ways to find it. I'm a little reluctant to advertise that right now because it's still got my old URL on there, and they could disable it anytime it's got a new prefix. But at any rate, I'm still trying to figure out how to find a neutral platform to transfer all that stuff to.
Well, you do have, I want everybody to know, there is devoidlives.com, and you can go there and read. And of course, Life in Jonestown, too, as well. I've got those links up over on jimmychurchradio.com. Let me say this before we get to the break, Billy. One of the things about your writing style that I enjoy is it is smooth. You have a professional way of communicating to the masses. And I've always enjoyed, I just absorb, I get it. And you write like I want to write. You write like I want to speak. And software or an editor or whoever, they're not going to know how you affect people, right? That's just not cool to me because you're one of the smoothest writers out there.
Well, that's awfully nice for you to say so, Jimmy. I do appreciate it. But honestly, and I don't want to be too discouraging, but let's just face it. I mean, people aren't reading all that much anymore. That's discouraging for me. I mean, I find that my attention span has eroded somewhat. I'd like to attribute that to the digital realm, but it could be age. I don't know, but hey, anybody who still likes to read is near and dear to my heart.
The way that you do write, is it from your brain and from your mind straight to your fingers? Because how does that connection work?
It's labored. I gotta tell you, it doesn't come really naturally to me. I mean, I have to work at it. I think one of the best things that happened to me was daily newspapers, in the sense of having to punch something out every day on deadline. That forced me, hey, you can't dally, man. The press is waiting. So it was good. It was good training in the sense that I had to do it quick, turn it over really quick. But every now and then I get a chance to come up for air and work on something, long-form features, and that's what I really enjoyed. But honestly, I think if I'd started out doing this kind of stuff and initially, I might not have written the first word. That's what newspapers were really good. It finally got me out of my inertia and actually getting stuff printed for a change.
Now, you've been writing about this, for almost 40 years, the UFO subject, and covering the UFO beat. As a beat writer, did you ever see these last 4 years coming?
Oh, God, no. I don't know. I don't think anybody saw it. Like you, Jimmy, I suspect, when you began to realize that there was something material to this, I realized immediately when I saw this thing and I started reading about it, I realized this is the biggest story ever. I think the book, if I would point to a book that really kind of made the light bulb click on for me, was Clear Intent by, I think it's Fawcett and Greenwood. This came out in 1984. What I really liked about this book was it was based on government paper. As a result of the Freedom of Information Act that was sort of expedited, I think, during the Carter administration. And I would rave about this book. You've got to read this. It was the first time I ever heard about the Tehran F-4 situation. I think it was an F-4 that lost control and tried to lock in on a bogey over Tehran. And that kind of stuff from NSA papers, that to me was so compelling. And it sent me, I knew that I wasn't chasing phantoms. I'm going, this stuff is real. This is the biggest story ever. Why aren't people caring about this? Why is this a bigger deal? And I guess maybe if I had a simple explanation, is that, you know what? The world is complicated enough as it is. why do we need this crap? So, yeah, I knew this was huge, and I couldn't let go of it, and it was very difficult, at least for the first 35 years, to convince anybody else that it was worth their time. And I'm really happy to be around when we're at this point in our adult conversation on this, because it's going to get even more intriguing.
Well, one of the things, that's kind of obvious out there for all of us is the recognition right now that the media, mass media, television, print, whatever, is now open, and they're not playing the X-Files music. This it's never been like this before.
That's true. You do see every now and then with decreasing frequency, you do see sort of the stock cookie cutter sorts of coverage. For instance, okay, so a couple of Sundays ago, you had 60 Minutes, which did an excellent job. I thought a terrific summary of what this latest publicity is all about. And I don't know, early in the day on CBS Sunday Morning, you had the complete opposite. You had their guy who was doing, they had Seth Shostak on there.
Right.
And I first interviewed Seth, God, it must have been 30 years ago. He came down to Florida Tech and did a SETI presentation. And I was enamored of SETI on the front end, because I thought, well, okay, so you guys are interested in contacting life out there, and, the things flying around in our own atmosphere, too. I did not realize that they were mutually exclusive. I had no idea. But anyway, I've been through Seth long enough to know that this guy has not grown at all into this realm, which is becoming cluttered with more and more facts as each month passes. And so I looked at the CBS Sunday Morning presentation, and it was the same old kind of a formula sort of thing. And I thought, well, this is an absolute waste of time. And furthermore, why didn't they even promo to the 60 Minutes piece that's coming later on their same network? I didn't really understand what that was all about. It was a little curious to me.
Yeah, I felt like, and I've got to take a break right here, even though I appreciate the 60 Minutes presentation, and the Sunday morning segment was pretty cool too, but I think 60 Minutes kind of missed a pretty good opportunity there. And one of the reasons, I've only got 10 seconds, they only mentioned UFO at the beginning of the 60 Minute segment one time. And so for the public, for the masses out there that don't know what UAP means, they know what UFO means and what that stands for. And 60 Minutes to me just missed that opportunity to explain to the world exactly what they were talking about. You and I get it, right?
I'll buy that. Yeah, absolutely, sure.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Billy Cox is here. I want to remind everybody what's going down this week. Tonight, Billy Cox. Tomorrow night, Lisa O'Hara. Wednesday night, Lou Elizondo. Thursday night, Ralph Blumenthal. We've got a full week here on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back after this short break. More with Billy Cox next.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to forbiddenknowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30 days free. That's coupon code 30 days free on forbiddenknowledge.tv today.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Billy Cox is here. UFO journalist on the beat for 40 years on the UFO subject. Tomorrow night, Lisa O'Hare is here. Wednesday night, Lou Elizondo. Thursday night, Ralph Blumenthal. Man, I've got two journalists on this week covering the beat. That's pretty cool, Billy. Now, I want to let's turn it back a little bit. I love a good UFO sighting story. What happened back in Cocoa Beach in 1979?
Okay, well, back then I was covering sports, so I was kind of a night owl. And I had a buddy in town from Raleigh, North Carolina, where I'm from. And my girlfriend and I and Steve, we went out to the beach. It was late. It was around 12:30. And we went out to the beach because offshore, off to the east, were these gorgeous sort of heat lightning clouds. Strobing, pulsing, you could see the little arteries of electricity and all that. It was quite a mesmerizing sight. And as I recall, there was no moon, a new moon, and we're walking north along the shoreline, and north of Cocoa Beach is Cape Canaveral, and you can see the Cape jutting out into the Atlantic. When you can see the lighthouse back then, and there was the gantries, the launch pads, and all this. This is before the space shuttle program. That wasn't going to happen until 1981. This is 1979. The spring of 79. It's around 3 Mile Island time, if anybody remembers that nuclear potential disaster.
Right.
And anyway, it's high, thin gossamer sorts of clouds, high layer clouds. So you can see the stars, but it's not one of those dazzling bright nights of stars. Anyway, we're walking north along the beach, and all of a sudden there's something off to the right, up in the sky at about 45 degrees or thereabouts, and it looks like it just kind of detached itself from the sky, and it's moving north. It's like it's watching us, like it'd been watching us and was just waiting for somebody to turn around and notice it, and then it could start moving. I'm doing a lot of interpretation here. I have no idea if this memory's a very cloudy thing, but at any rate, I grabbed Terry, my girlfriend, I grabbed her arm, and I swung around, and I said, "Look, I'm pointing." And that's when it started to move. It had mass because it was blotting out the rest of the sky. It was big, or close, or both. It had 3 red triangular configuration non-oscillating lights, and there was also accompanying this thing a hum, like a tuning fork on glass. And it moved north towards the gantries like liquid. It almost had an organic quality to it, and I would say the duration of this event was maybe 10 seconds max. Anyway, Steve went running after this thing. I tried running too. Terry grabbed my arm. She said no, and I shook her off. So Steve's running. I'm running after Steve. Terry's running after me, just trying to keep up with this thing. It just kind of tilts and dissolves. This thing is gone. And we just looked at each other like, what the hell was that? And again, you've got the NASA and the Canaveral Air Station, 20 miles away, not even, 10 miles up. And when I thought, the audacity. I mean, are you kidding me? Really? Really? And that really sort of put the hook in me. Man, it was a slow warm, Jimmy, I can tell you that, because I go to the bookstore, and, the only place back then you could find UFO books, and to some extent it's still that way today, in the occult section,
right,
where they have all that satanic stuff, and it was reminding me of those old blockbuster videos, where you're looking around, if you're near the porn section or whatever, you want to make sure that looking over your shoulder is nobody that you know, and so it catches you in the satanic occult section looking for UFO books. So anyway, that's I went into it very softly, very gently, and over time, I was able to I got a little bit more confident with it. Wound up talking to some of the old pad rats from the 1950s and the early 60s who were out there building Kennedy Space Center, and they talked about these things coming over. Back then it was a wilderness, Merritt Island, that area up there. Of course it came into being after World War II. From nothing, and I can't even imagine the sort of hellish conditions with the mosquitoes and the heat and everything that they had to go up against when they were launching those early rockets. But yeah, I talked to a bunch of old timers over the years, and they would tell me, just sighting stuff, no Nothing involving an actual touchdown or any abduction stuff that I could tell, but there were sightings, particularly at night, that were just stunning. And I got the impression, it's kind of word of mouth back then. You know, you didn't really have the internet. You know, I got a friend of a friend of a friend, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult to hook up. But once I get them talking, it was like, yeah, you know, it's this relief. I finally got somebody who's not going to think I'm crazy. And that was a big stigma for the longest time, people thinking you're crazy. And now, you know, well, look at this. It truly is stunning. And if nothing else ever comes out of this, if we don't make any more progress at all, I'm satisfied, man. I mean, this is all like cherry and whipped cream on top. The idea of, not that I necessarily felt like I needed to be validated, but to know that there is hard data, radar data. You've got these professional pilots unafraid to talk about it, and now we're having it at the top levels of our public service. You know, you've got the press secretary of the White House, you got Obama, you got Biden trying to duck out of it. I don't blame him, really. What are you supposed to do, right? But anyway, we've reached a level of maturity that I'm so happy with, and if I don't learn anything more, at least people will know it wasn't just crazy Billy. There was something actually going on up there, and he was onto it.
You saw what you've been reporting on, right? The 3 static red lights, the triangle, it phased out and disappeared. The things that us crazy people, you know, have been reporting all these years, that's what you saw.
Yeah. And, you know, then again, 10 years later, when I was fishing out in the Everglades, I had a sequence of 4 photos as I'm pulling a yellowtail jack out of the Gulf between Marco Island and Everglades City. Pulling a fish out of the water, and my buddy who takes a sequence of 4 photos calls me a week later from Washington, D.C. He says, Billy, I think you got a flying saucer over your head. I'm going, what? And he said, yeah. He says, I'll send you the negatives and the prints. And that's another story altogether. But it was, you know, there's that trickster aspect of this stuff that people like to talk about a lot. I think there is something to be said for that. I think there was a little choreography going on here. You really had a sequence of 4 photos, and there was something happening in each of the photos. The first 2 are horizontal, the second 2 are vertical, and anyway, the salient thing that I didn't even notice until 6 years later, when a source of mine who's an engineer at Northrop Grumman, he and his buddies took a look at it and say, dude, you know, what happened to the cloud? I said, what do you mean? They said, look at the first 2 shots and look at the second 2 shots. The second 2 shots, your cloud is missing. This thing went into the cloud and zapped it. I'm going, what? How did you see that, man? I said, I've had this thing for 6 years. He said, that's what our job is. That's what we do. We look at environmental STARS program, the radar mapping plane that was first deployed during the Gulf War in 1991. But anyway, he saw that thing immediately. He says, you got about 35 engineers down here freaked out just looking at this display that this thing made in these 4 photos. So anyway, yeah, that kind of sealed the deal. And I know this is a lot of stuff, but that was the same day. That was May the 20th, 1989, and that was the same day I'd been in correspondence with Carl Sagan about the face on Mars. This is back in the day when I was under the, I guess you could say, the sway of Dick Hoagland,
right?
And the Cydonia stuff, and I was really curious about the I don't know, the D&M pyramid and the face on Mars, which turned out to be a mesa, like everybody said. But at any rate, I was curious about it. And I was in snail mail correspondence with Dr. Sagan in 1988. And I still have those letters. But anyway, the thing that really caught my eye, and I guess this was my first sort of brush with what we call synchronicity, This was a couple of days later. I think I've still got it. Here it is on dot matrix printout. It's by a guy with Gannett News Service named J. Cox, C-O-X, Ithaca, New York, Dateline. It says, maybe, Stephanie Orek thought aloud, they were here to visit renowned astronomer Carl Sagan, a professor at Cornell University. Orek said she had recently seen a show on UFOs visiting Florida and had wondered why don't they come to Carl Sagan's backyard. Dozens of people stated on May 20th between 9 and 10 p.m. they might have. Anyway, so the very night that I had this sequence of photos taken that, of course, I didn't know anything about because David didn't see it, I didn't see it, we didn't hear anything until a week later, and they showed up on film. Found out several days after that, after I got the photos from David, there was sightings in Ithaca, New York that night. So what does that all mean? I don't know, except that I wrote to Dr. Sagan after I got the guts to send 2 of those photos to him. I didn't realize, like I said, until 6 years later after they were taken, there was something going on in every one of the 4 photos. I just sent him the 3rd and 4th ones, and I asked him, Dr. Sagan, and I included this news story here from the Gannett News Service, J. Cox, and I said, what did you see what was going over Ithaca that night, May the 20th? And I never heard back from him.
Of course you didn't.
Yeah, I know.
Of course you didn't.
So, I know. So, but anyway, that really further cemented the this journey that I was on, and I've been on it ever since.
Now, I wanted to ask you this because everybody develops relationships, and you have your sources and things, and I can only imagine what your old-fashioned Rolodex must be like. With something like that, do you start to get contacted? I want you to think about this for a second. Do you start to get contacted by people that you may not fully trust, maybe agency-like individuals that are now reaching out to you?
Are you going somewhere with this, Jimmy?
You know I am.
Because are you talking about alien autopsy?
We can go there too as well.
Well, let's see. I can't say if you're asking about like a deep throat. No, I never got any of that. I was never far enough up the food chain for that kind of stuff. But what are you kind of nudging me towards, and I can comment on it if you want.
The thing is that once you have a certain influence out there, and you're out there writing on this, you start to get approached by individuals that you may have even heard from for the first time that have information. You have your own sources and stuff. Did you ever feel that maybe you were presented stuff that was misleading?
Never intentionally misleading. I never felt like I was a target of a disinformation campaign. Again, because I was never a very big fish. I will say that there was a fellow, is the first abduction guy I ever met. His name was John Frick. And John, he's a little guy. He's been gone for a number of years now, but he was absolutely convinced that he drew the craft that he was on, and he was talking about the sex that he had with this female thing. And he gave me the first time I'd ever heard of General MacArthur and the Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit. And he also gave me this speech that MacArthur had written about the next war is going to be interplanetary. And again, this is like 1982, and I'm really new to this stuff. I don't really know how to be discerning on this. And again, it's before the internet, and it's all snail mail, and you really have to go through books. And, you know, people read a lot more back then, but I couldn't tell you up from down back then. I still have trouble with that, you know, with proportionality and what's real and what isn't. But that was the first abduction. I'd never really heard of the abduction stuff. Well, no, that's not exactly true. I do remember reading about Betty and Barney Hill. But in terms of being directly confronted by a guy who was absolutely deadpan, very serious, and the whole thing seemed ludicrous to me at the time, and I certainly, though I didn't want to contradict him, because he seemed like he was trusting me with this material, and I wrote it as well as I could, I guess, and tried to be dispassionate and thorough and fair. Back then I was calling people like Jim Oberg.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like one of the preeminent skeptics with a capital S. And then, of course, there was Phil Klass, who I had some run-ins with, and came to understand through trial and error that he was a propagandist, and that felt kind of bad. It felt like I had been sort of, I don't want to say deliberately misled. I think a lot of times Phil actually believed some of the stuff that he was saying. But he wasn't like targeting me as if to try to plant a fake story with me. It was just, we would talk. So I can't say that I was singled out. I was never a very big fish.
Now, and moving on to more of a modern context, we all know what happened in December of 2017, and I want to address that, if I can, for a second. Do you feel that the legal side of the New York Times looked at this article and decided on its own merits to release it? Or do you think it was presented to them as a done deal?
Boy, that's a good question. I wish I had some special insights into that. I will say that my impression is that I still have some unanswered questions. It seemed like the role. I can probably. I'll tell you what I think about the TTSA. For instance, I think DeLong is absolutely responsible for pulling all of this stuff together, regardless of some of the remarks or comments that he's made. I do think that the rollout was a little bit erratic. I don't know that they had their game plan all together at that time, but I do think when you have an opportunity, with considering the magnitude of this issue, I think you have to go for the opening and force your way through it, regardless of how big or how small that opening is. For instance, I never really understood why the Go Fast was not released with the gimbal and the FLIR. Do you know? Have you been through that?
Oh, a lot.
Okay, so why was the Go Fast held back several months?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Well, my feet are a little close to the fire on this, on all of this, but I'll say this. I think that they didn't want to, they were looking at the long term. I think they were looking at the years ahead. They had those 3 videos that they were sitting on and promising a lot of other stuff, but the other stuff never came in. So I think that's why 2 videos were released first, and then a few months later you had the Go Fast.
So in other words, it was to kind of extend the interest, right? You didn't want to blow it all at once, blow it all out at once. You wanted to kind of maybe give you another little teaser.
I think that's a safe way to look at it.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, that strategically that makes a lot of sense. I just wasn't sure why it rolled out that way. I know that there were some questions during the rollout about, Lou's credentials exactly. Now, I've met Lou. We've spoken on a number of occasions, and the more I talk with him, the more convinced I am that he is the right guy at the right time with this. However, I also think that it might have worked better to his advantage if, the credentials, had been put out there on the front end, so that there was no ambiguity about what his responsibilities and assignment was. I know that there's still lots of controversy, and I know the IG is looking into, the contradictory claims that the Pentagon is still putting out there about who he was and what he did. I don't think they're on the right side of history, but then, hey, what do I know? I'm looking at all this stuff from a distance, but it is one hell of a drama, man. I'm just loving this ride.
Yeah, and you wrote about it constantly, and I read everything that you put out about it. Did you think back then in December that TTSA wouldn't be around in 2021?
No. I didn't know what to make of. You mean on the front end? No, I had never seen anything like this, but I knew the minute I was bike riding. I came in that Saturday afternoon in December 2017, logged on, and I went, holy spit, New York Times, there it is, and then there's Politico, and I knew, and that's an historic newspaper, and I went out the next day to buy a newspaper so I could have it. I know this is a game changer, and it's taken a while, but that conversation will never be the same. And I don't know where we go from here. I don't know what happens with what the Pentagon comes up with. I don't know what they're going to say, but even if there's nothing there, we are changed, and we don't even understand. There's no way we can understand what's ahead. We've never had I don't want to say confrontation, but we've never had a moment like this. And I don't know how, even if you want this stuff to come out, I don't know how you game this stuff out, Jimmy. How do you plan for this? And I think we're at a really fragile point in our democracy. I don't want to get too highfalutin here, but things are very tenuous right now, and I think it's really interesting that this conversation is accelerating at a moment when we're really at a crossroads, and it's not just here in the United States. I think democracies across the world are imperiled, and I don't think it's necessarily because of politics. I think it's behavioral in large part, forged in many ways by the digital domain, the dopamine addiction that our social media has nurtured and perpetuated over the last decade or so. That's kind of scary. This is terra incognita. And there was a piece in the Scientific American last summer, I think last August, that I was really impressed by. They came right out and said, we need all hands on deck to discuss really about the science of going forward with this UFO stuff. And they went back in history and they talked about, last summer, we're still in the middle of the pandemic. They talked about how after the plague, the Black Death, in the Middle Ages, coming out on the other side of that, it was this great flourishing, this renaissance and everything, and science and math and art, architecture. Everything came out better on the other side, and that's why I think that this crossroads we're at, it could go either way or all ways, and I don't know where it starts, but I think we're at a very fragile moment.
I couldn't agree with you. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Billy. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Billy Cox. He's been doing the UFO beat for 40 years. So much to discuss. We'll pick it up where we're leaving off right here. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
All Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fade or not? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. This is Jimmy Church, and I'll be at the UFO MegaCon this June 6th through the 12th, 2021 in Laughlin, Nevada. The Laughlin UFO MegaCon is unique. It's 7 days of education and disclosure. It's unlike all other UFO conferences. The Laughlin UFO Mega Conference specializes in bringing you new people, offering new information and disclosure. All of this is offered at prices so low you can actually afford to be there. For instance, 7-night hotel packages, 1 or 2 people, start at just $320 inclusive. Education and disclosure is why the Laughlin UFO Mega Conference exists. Join us for all 7 days, or a half a week, or just a day or two, but join us. Go to LaughlinUFOMegaConference.com. Register now. The only thing keeping you from being with all of us is you. Just go to LaughlinUFOMegaConference.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Billy Cox is with us. More with Billy in just a second. I want to talk to you about Virtual Shield VPN. Everybody needs their own VPN. I speak about this all the time. Great sponsor on this show because they protect me. They keep me invisible. I have this beautiful studio. I have studios. I have multiple studios. Everything. I have multiple computers. I've got 6 computers that run this show every single night. Every one of them has Virtual Shield VPN. Nobody knows my search traffic. Nobody knows my location. Nobody knows my IP address. I run invisible. You can't find me. You need Virtual Shield. It's all easy to do. Click on the link in the video description box below. It's right there. Click on it. You will get Virtual Shield VPN for 50% off today. Go to virtualshield.com/fade to black. It's that simple. Virtual Shield VPN for 50% off today. Runs in your browser. Turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. Pick your location. You're in Sarasota with Billy Cox. You don't want to be in Sarasota. You want to be in Athens, Georgia. Pick it. Go. Get Virtual Shield VPN now. Our guest tonight, Billy Cox. Now, Billy, talking about all of this other stuff that's been going on, with
Jimmy, I want to buy a Virtual Shield from you, man.
Yeah. It's the best, man. It's the best.
Okay.
It's the best. Virtual Shield VPN. TTSA and everything else that goes along with it, the UAP Task Force, the Senate Intelligence Committee, the IG, the DOD, Marco Rubio, your guy, right? Right there in Florida.
Yeah. I got
But there's that, and I think one of the most explosive things to come out in the last 3 years is the Wilson Davis document. I want to talk about that for a second. When you first were aware of it, what went through your mind?
Well, let me go back a little bit. I interviewed Ed Mitchell back in, I want to say, 1995, late 1995. He was in town for an anniversary of his Apollo flight. He was in Rockledge, and several of us went out to eat that night. Several of the people on the staff of the paper had known Ed for a while, and I was, they say, "Hey, Billy, you want to come along?" "Oh, yeah, meet a moonwalker?" "Yeah, sure. You better believe it." So anyway, we're talking about this and that, and he volunteered. Now, I'm still kind of a relative newcomer to the UFO stuff. I don't have my sea legs, so to speak. And Dr. Mitchell volunteered about this was kind of like out of nowhere, knowing that I'm a newspaper reporter, and he talked about some high-level discussions he'd been having about this UFO situation, and that he had discovered that there was he'd had a conversation with a high-ranking military official who had attempted to get to the core of what's out there, and he was blocked from digging any farther because he didn't have the right credentials, the right security clearance, or rather, I should say, the need to know. And I thought that I didn't know anything at the time, or very little, about the Rockefeller initiative. I had heard a little bit about it, but didn't know necessarily that Dr. Mitchell was hooked up with that. I wrote a story. It was one of my UFO stories. I definitely pegged the lead to the UFO stuff, and that was it. It was kind of a one-off, and then 10 years or so later, a little later than that, or maybe 13 years later. Anyway, there's Larry King and there's Dr. Mitchell talking about this Stonewall that he got. And I was contacted by someone who mentioned, I don't know if I should use their name because I haven't talked to him about it, but anyway, he said, yeah, this guy he's talking about is Admiral Tom Wilson. You should give him a buzz, and that's the guy who was denied the look-see. So, and I found Admiral Wilson. I called him up. I think he was working for a defense contractor at the time up in Minnesota. I could be wrong about that, but at any rate, I asked him straight up, there's Dr. Mitchell on Larry King last night, and he's essentially inferring that you were the guy who met with him, and he, just like he told Richard Dolan, I mean, yeah, he met with Ed Mitchell and was kind of interested in meeting an astronaut, but hey, I have no real interest in the UFO stuff. I mean, I was hearing him out, but I didn't think there was anything to it, not enough anyway, to pursue, so I didn't pursue it. And I got back with Dr. Mitchell. I mean, immediately I relayed Wilson's comments to him, and Mitchell said he was stunned. I mean, he was like literally at a loss for words. And he said, "Well, I'm shocked." And I said, "Well, are you saying that Admiral Wilson is a liar?" He said, something to the effect that I would choose not to engage him further on this. I mean, Dr. Mitchell was a gentleman. I mean, just one of these rare people who made you feel at home, but also you realize he was not a part of this earth because he literally had been farther away than any other human. And so he was a compelling character, but I got the sense that he was definitely taken aback. Like, he did not expect that sort of rejection.
He thought that Admiral Wilson was with him.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he thought Admiral Wilson was going to support everything that he had said. And Wilson, was telling me very conversational. He didn't appear all that defensive. He just said, "Yeah, I just never looked into it. And I don't know if I believed it or not. I've got Wilson's side and I've got Mitchell's side, and I wrote a little blog back in 2008. And then, of course, 10 years later, when this Eric Davis Wilson memo comes out there, I went, "Oh my God, look at this!" And then I thought Richard Dolan did a really good job of explaining, walking you through it. And of course, by then, unfortunately, Dr. Mitchell was gone, but and I couldn't find the number. I'd lost touch with Admiral Wilson, and then I guess you could call him a colleague from outside the U.S. said, he approached me. He said, "Are you going to call Admiral Wilson?" I said, "Well, I'd love to. I just don't have his number." He said, "Here's his number." So I gave him a buzz, and of course he repeated everything that he said back, 10 years earlier, and he didn't really sound pissed off. He sounded kind of like he was almost glad to talk about it, and he indicated to me that, he says, "What's going on out there?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, you're not the first person to call me about this in the last couple of days." He said, "What's up?" I said, I mentioned this memo, and he said, "Well, there's nothing to that." And he says, "I wouldn't know Eric Davis if he walked into the room." So, I tried to reach Dr. Davis. I was unable to do so. And so I had one side of the story to report. And, of course, we've gotten a little bit more information since all that happened. Evidently, Dr. Davis continues to testify to Congress behind closed door. And, I kind of appreciate the predicament that he's in. However, the ball is in his court, and how he chooses to play it. He's evidently chosen not to play it yet. That's going to be his choice. His timing.
Well, let me jump in, Billy, because I want the audience to understand that they know about the coverage that I did on this. Richard and I got the documents on the very same day. Emailed to us. Grant Cameron had told me about what was happening a few months before that. Dolan, of course, had a couple of pages of this document, probably 2008 or so. But you were right in the middle of all of this. And I was talking to Richard. He goes, dude, you got to call Billy Cox. He just talked to Wilson. Right? I was like, what? What? Now, so as you're starting to put all of this together, you know about your conversations with Ed Mitchell. Now you're reading this document. Do you feel that the document, in your opinion, supported Ed Mitchell's position and that Wilson had to backpedal? I mean, what was your take on everything? You were right in the middle.
That's a good question, Jimmy. I don't want to accuse anyone of lying, although I know that Eric Davis has a very credible reputation, and I know the same about Admiral Wilson. Coming down, if Dr. Davis has an NDA, okay, I get it, but I would love to see him address this. I really, because there's a cloud. Either way, there's a cloud over him, or there's a cloud over Admiral Wilson. And like I said, when I talked to Admiral Wilson, he didn't appear to have his dander up. I mean, he didn't appear pissed off or irritated. In fact, he seemed very conversational and kind of jocular almost, like he was kind of glad to talk about it. I don't know how to interpret that. But the notes, from what I read, were so detailed. It sounded to me like it had to come off of a tape-recorded conversation. And again, I'm not a big fish. I was late to this Davis-Wilson memo. I am not on anybody's A-list when it comes to this stuff. So, but the idea that, Wilson was so easy to reach, not for me anyway initially, because I'd lost his phone number, and then I get a phone call a message, Facebook message from a colleague out of the country with his number, and I said, oh, shoot, yeah, I'll pick up the phone, the least I can do, and there he was, 2 or 3 rings in, and we had a quick conversation, and like I said, now the ball's in Davis's court. I really, because it is so detailed, because there are so, and I made an effort to contact as many of the people that I could find in whose names were mentioned in the Davis memo. Most of them weren't very helpful. Several people were nervous, but they could not really shed any light on the idea that there had been any stonewalling when it comes to SAPs and the UFOs. I mean, nobody would go near that. It was either I don't remember, or that was not part of our bailiwick. I mean, there was a lot of avoidance and evasion going on there, I felt. And some of these folks are still around, and I'd like to think that, maybe it's time to circle back just to see. I mean, they're not getting any younger, that's for sure. But, it's fascinating, and that's the smoking gun. That's just it. I do think that document really, and we don't know the contractor that they're talking about, but, Harry Reid's talking about Lockheed Martin, and I don't know. I don't know where we go from here unless Eric Davis chooses to talk. I don't know what more there is to be done with that, unless there are sources, people in those notes who choose to be as candid as they might possibly be. But I was not able to get any sort of that candor out of these folks that I did talk to. Like I said, they were very, kind of skittish. One guy even changed his phone number. I forget which one it was. but he was up in the panhandle of Florida, and he was on one of those findanyWho.com, and I had left a message. I think I left a message. This was it had to be 2 years ago now, because last year was the pandemic. And anyway, he had changed his number. He just vanished. I mean, overnight. So, I don't know. It's a mystery. And people who say, well, you can't keep a secret, I would challenge that very seriously. I think they've been pretty good about keeping secrets for such a long time. It's just that the weight of the evidence now is becoming overwhelming. And if we may be going forward, but we're also, Jimmy, we're going to have to look back. I mean, there has to be an accounting for how this lid, because this goes to the credibility. I think if I'm a taxpayer, I'm going, whoa, it's $900 billion a year in defense, and we can't police our own skies. What are we paying taxes for? And I think we have to look not only forward but backward. And it's honestly, a lot of this is a fait accompli, not only with the government officials who've kept the lid on this and the contractors, but also the media. The media bear a large share of the blame for the reason that this has stayed secret for such a long time. And, that may be worth writing about in terms of something a little bit longer than what I've been able to piece together through my devoid blogs and columns. Because we don't really understand our own history because we don't have access to it, not this aspect of our history. And it's probably, I think, arguably the most important part of our history. We have to have a full accounting, really, I think, before we can go forward, to see where we went off the rails initially. I mean, the World War II Cold War mentality has kept us against the wall and in the dark for such a long time, and we may be entering a new Cold War, but that doesn't mean we can't afford to let the truth out. And I'm really, honestly, I'm kind of concerned about where we are psychologically, this country at this point in time, with the digital stuff, the behavioral aspects of the digital domain, and where we go from here, especially at a time when we look extremely vulnerable to this hyper-advanced technology that appears to be running circles around our front lines weapon systems. So I think and I don't know, I always thought for the longest time, Jimmy, that this is a great uniter issue because of UFOs, they don't skew right or left. But now I've got this sense of dread, okay, it's just going to be a matter of time, right, before they start to politicize this. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm bracing for it, and I don't like that feeling. And that's why I think it's just as important as ever, urgent even, to get the facts on the table about what this is. I mean, we're going to have rumors no matter what the facts turn out to be. People are going to put their own spin on it, but we need an accounting. We've got to have this. And I wish I was about 20 years younger so I could be, a part of it. But, hey, maybe the next lifetime, huh?
Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. I'm 58. I'm thinking, man, I need another 25 years, man.
Exactly. I suspect it might be like an onion skin. There may not be a center to it. It just may be one peeling the layer after another, and I don't know where it's going to end. I don't know if anybody knows where it's going to end, but boy, what a ride, huh? Hasn't it been a great ride?
It has been. One last thought on the Wilson-Davis document before we take a break here, which is this. There are parts of that document that are based on fact, where we can connect the dots. The Greer meeting at the Pentagon with Edgar Mitchell, for instance, right? That actually happened. I spoke to Dr. Greer about this, and there's other elements about this, and the letter. But anyway, the fact that Wilson wants to just backpedal and say, hey, I never met Eric Davis, but we have this extensive amount of detail that is presented there, it's kind of difficult to say that Eric Davis made it all up unless he did just make it all up. It's a weird conundrum that we find ourselves in.
That's just it. It's the amount of details, Jimmy. I don't know how you do that kind of research, get all those names, and they were in the exact, at least the ones I was able to interview, they were in the exact place at the exact time that was in those notes. So if this is a fraud, which I have my suspicions about, I don't think so, but the research that went into this, if that's what this is, if this is a fabrication, that's hellacious research, man. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were talking about, and it is absolutely compelling. No less so today than it was a couple of years ago, I don't think.
Well, the one part that I brought up about this, wouldn't it be simple for Eric Davis just to come forward and say, "Look, here's my plane tickets. I was in Las Vegas on this day," right? But I don't know if he's willing to do that.
Well, I don't know what he would have to lose by presenting those plane tickets. Now, I don't know how 20 years later you have a record of that. Maybe there's some deep database or whatever, Delta Airlines or whatever. But I think certainly that could go a long way. But here you've got to prove that Wilson was in Las Vegas. I think he told me he hadn't been to Vegas since the 60s or whatnot.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the protocols. He was trying to say that, well, look, they're saying that I had all these military escorts. I've been retired, and that's just not, some of the accoutrements that they give us. Well, that may or may not be true. I don't know. I don't know what the protocols are, but certainly I would imagine that that's in a book somewhere.
Now, that was, I've got about 60 seconds left. That was one of the points that was brought up by Richard Dolan. Certainly, he said that to me. Was that something that Admiral Wilson related to you, that, he didn't have a Navy driver?
Right, yeah. Right. I mean, what would I be doing with these guys? I'm retired. I wouldn't have these escorts around me and they're a driver like that. That's not something that they provide for us once you're out of the uniform. So your guess is as good as mine. I don't know, Jimmy.
And the other part of this, just one quick comment before the break. This came from Edgar Mitchell's personal archives.
Exactly. Now, what's Edgar Mitchell doing with fake documents in his archives? And, and Mitchell was relating the story, and he, was very cagey about releasing publicly Admiral Wilson's name. I don't know that he, I don't think he did that. Did he? He didn't say that on Larry King, did he?
I don't believe he did, no.
I don't think he did. No, he's very cagey about it, very, very discerning. So, I don't know. Yeah, they're in his archives. They're in his personal possessions. What are they doing there if they're insignificant, if they don't mean anything?
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, the one and only Billy Cox. He's been our community's UFO beat writer for almost 40 years. Billy Cox. More with Billy after this short break. This is Fade to Black.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health matters now. So, log on to getthetea.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's getthetea.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard, available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Billy Cox, the UFO journalist. Now, Billy, here we are. Tomorrow is June 1st. We are expecting this UAP task force report in some form to be presented. What are you expecting to be in this report?
Well, I can only go by what people who know a lot more or should, have more insights than I do are anticipating, which is not a whole lot. I mean, I know there's supposed to be a major transparent component to this, but the other day I was talking to Robert Powell and Morgan Bell with the SCU, that did the analysis on the Nimitz video. Mm-hmm. And they're telling me, the big hole in this whole thing with the IG sending out, memos to, I think, 18 different military and intelligence entities back, I think it was May the 3rd. The big problem, they said, was the Department of Homeland Security wasn't mentioned. They were not on the distribution list. And the reason they were saying that is significant is because DHS is the lead for the Customs and Border Patrol. Customs and Border Patrol had the Aguadilla video from 2013. And to me, that shows better than any of the videos that I've seen so far, illustrates the transmedium properties, the alleged transmedium properties of these UFOs. When you see this thing going into the water, it's tracked by infrared cameras, and you see it, hitting at about 100 miles an hour, they say, without barely a splash, and then it goes under the water, and it comes back out and goes under the water. Next thing you know, the thing grows a little bit larger, and it splits into two, and they equal size. I mean, what the hell is that all about? And, the video that they got back in 2014, I think it was stripped down. It had been cleansed of the voiceover, the pilot chatter, which is one of the things that made the gimbal and the Go Fast video so convincing. When you hear the excitement in these pilots who see this stuff, it's like, they put you right there in the middle of the excitement. And that's one thing that's lacking in the Aguadilla video. I mean, you see this thing is being tracked in the sky with the infrared camera for almost 4 minutes, and as it gets into the water and then it makes its exit, I don't know if the cameraman switches modes or whatever, it blinks just a second, and this object is gone. And you can see the camera swivel from one side to the other, looking in vain, fruitlessly, for this object. I would love to hear that cockpit chatter, like, if those jet fighters were excited, seeing what they saw. Can you imagine losing this thing after seeing it going into water and splitting into two parts? Anyway, Morgan Bell and Robert Powell were going, well, Department of Homeland Security, why were they not on the distribution list? I mean, it's not just civilian stuff, it's intelligence. And, with the Aguadilla Airport, that's under private management. So they're exempt from FOIA, so they couldn't even get the tower logs, the ATC logs from the tower. So they're operating at a disadvantage. They couldn't get the military radar. They got some fairly remote FAA radar, but they were able to squeeze out a lot of details, but not enough to give us the real full scope of what that whole incident was about. So I guess that's a long-winded way of saying my expectations, I think, are like a lot of people. They're low, but I think Elizondo was maybe saying that this might be a continuation. This is like the first installment or the down payment on to be continued. I hope that's what it is, because I really, from what I've heard, they don't have the dedicated staff or the budget to really do a first-rate job on what they need to do. And how do you compress all these decades into a 180-day report? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, there's another part to this, though, Billy, where so much of the community is expecting disclosure and that there will be an ET off-world component mentioned in this report. Do you think that the Department of Defense, or the DIA, is going to take it that far?
Oh, no. I think they're still trying to. What are you supposed to do, though? I mean, if you're in a position, you're outgunned, you're outclassed. You can't catch these things. How far are you supposed to take it? I think just it's enough right now to say we don't have an effing clue as to what these things are, and by extension, our restricted or otherwise airspace is indefensible. That's kind of scary. And that would be an amazing admission. They're not going to go that far, even. Well, we can't do anything about it. That's implicit. They can't do anything about it. That's demonstrably true. But Going so far as to say there's an ET component, I don't see that anywhere in the near future, if at all. I mean, hell, it might not even be ET. It might be something in the water.
Well, yeah, and it could be, but I think that I just cut you off, Billy. But the thing is this. The shift to the UAP, those letters, that's confusing to the public and to the world, where if the DOD was talking about UFOs, we all understand the ET component of that, but they've shifted it to UAPs. Is that to maybe not scare everybody?
To make it more palatable, I think maybe they might have thought somewhere along the way, maybe we can get some Seth Shostak's on board with a less sharp acronym. But I think it's all about semantics. I do think that the UAP task force, that name has been bandied about for a while, and even with the 1217 article in the New York Times, they used UAP a lot. I think people are getting accustomed to that. I don't think that there's any or a whole lot of ambiguity about what UAP. If they'd rather talk about UAPs than UFOs, I mean, it's a rose by any other name, right?
Is the world ready?
I don't know. I think we're at a place that we were in 1945 or 1946 when we had a nuclear monopoly, and there was a big debate going on in the United States. And actually, I think at the time there was a poll that said 54% of Americans wanted us to relinquish the weapons or turn those weapons over to a worldwide governing body because they were such a horrific thing to confront. And, we thought that we could hang on to the monopoly, and that monopoly lasted for about 4 years, I guess it was. So one of the questions I think we do have to ask is cracking this nut, is this going to require an investment on the level of, say, Apollo/Manhattan Project? Can any one country afford to shoulder that burden alone? I mean, if we assume that this cover-up has been going on for 70 years, what have we got to show for it? I mean, of course, you have to conceal your money if you're working on an SAP or Black Project or something like that, but for crying out loud, 70 years? And I don't know, I think we have an opportunity here. I think Reagan raised the clarion call back in the 1980s. Remember those famous speeches he gave about if we were confronted with an ET threat? Wouldn't we and the Soviet Union, wouldn't we put aside our differences? I got to tell you, I guess it was last January before the pandemic hit, I had an opportunity to interview Gary Roughead, Admiral Gary Roughead. He was a chief of naval operations from 2007 to 2011. And he was talking about strategy, about China's expansionist ambitions, about, putting key assets in places along choke points with Suez Canal, or rather, I should say, the Persian Gulf. And I was asking him after the speech about, the F-18 videos, and he was kind of cagey with his answers. He said, yeah, he had seen them, but I don't believe that there is, an explanation. He says, I don't know what they are, but, that's the future, essentially. Open seas, what do we do there? But he did say this, and he's going to pull it up. He says, I think we're going to, this is in January of 2020, I think we're going to continue to see new technology in the form of unmanned systems that will begin to interfere with military capability. And we're not alone. There's no question that China and Russia want to plan. Without knowing what they may be, are they phenomena or are they vehicles that someone is able to get into place? I think one of the great challenges that more people look at is where would these have come from? And quite frankly, I haven't spent a whole lot of time on that issue. But he goes on to say, he's talking about China. He says, the aerodynamics and the hydrodynamics and the strength that's required to be able to fly and operate at depths, and the power that you need to move at high speeds in the air, and then how do you convert that power to something underwater? These are huge technological challenges, and there's no question in my mind that the future warfare, probably long after I'm gone, we'll see this type of thing beginning to occur. And he talked about China and says we have to look for opportunities, we have to look for venues where we can bring caring people together to say, okay, there's a technological issue here. How do we bring the bright minds together? How do we protect our legitimate national security technologies and intellectual property, but still get after some of the hard problems? And I think that's a way for closing some of the gaps down the road and bringing trust between the two. The first step for me is how do you define what it is we can work on together to remove some of the sensitivities and suspicions? Until you have that discussion, you're not going to make any progress. The journey begins with the first step. And I do think that that's what Lou has alluded to, and you might want to ask him about this when you have him on your show. We last talked, and he was talking about international alliances or treaties or cooperation where we can have, a sphere of mutual and equal sorts of influence. I do think that there is an opportunity here, but I don't know how long that window is going to be open. I don't think any one country can solve this by themselves, but as Roughhead was saying, how do you establish trust? I mean, would you trust Xi Jinping? Would you trust Vladimir Putin? Is that possible? I don't know, but I do think there's cause for optimism. I want to believe that. Because, I mean, whether or not it's an explicit threat or not, these things are running circles around our weapon systems, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it. And I don't know how long people will be complacent about that. I'm also afraid of the religious component here. We're already starting to see, QAnon-type things out there talking about how, well, this is the distraction. This whole UFO stuff is a government distraction, to get away from the election fraud. I'm going, crying out loud, already? So I don't know. I think we have a small window here, and I hope that there's an opportunity for us to try to forge some bridges or some alliances or something, because I don't think we're smart enough to figure it out by ourselves. And I think what I really resent is for 70 years locking out so many great minds, so many people who would, with the qualifications and the credentials, who would have done this gratis, who would have gladly worked on this. The biggest mystery of all time? Absolutely, sure. And we've cut them out. And I think that's unconscionable, and that's why I think we're going to have to look back to and get a fuller accounting of the mistakes that we made, and in so doing, hopefully prevent future mistakes of that nature in the road ahead.
Did it surprise you about the lack of a global freakout as this started to break out in the mass media, worldwide and globally, that institutions didn't collapse and people didn't just lose their minds?
Well, it's funny that you should mention that. I don't think that it's really sunken in. I don't think we're quite there yet. Where the implications, these things are not stalking through the streets with death rays and zapping people. But I also don't think the magnitude, the enormity of what this means has sunken in globally. Let me read this thing for you. That back in 2003, if you've got time for this.
I do.
I interviewed a guy in Melbourne. His name was Frank DeFay. At the time, he was 78. He's probably gone now. But he was a kid living in New Jersey. He and a buddy of his named Billy where Mom and Dad left him at home while they went out to do some dancing. It was Sunday night. It was right before Halloween in 1938, and they're playing a board game, and they've got the radio turned on, and they missed the first part of the Orson Welles War of the Worlds. And then they start listening to it, and then they start freaking out. And Billy, Frank's little buddy, has to go home. He's so scared leaving Frank by himself, and he's thinking the aliens are going to come down and get him. And anyway, there was a really interesting comment. As I was researching this, I found this quote. This was from the New York Tribune critic Dorothy Thompson, and she was writing in the immediate aftermath. She says, Wells proved that a few effective voices accompanied by sound effects can convince masses of people of a totally unreasonable, completely fantastic proposition as to create a nationwide panic. They have demonstrated more potently than any argument, demonstrated beyond a question of doubt, the appalling dangers and enormous effectiveness of popular and theatrical demagoguery. We haven't even really gotten there yet to this point. We may not get there. I hope not. But I see the potential for this. I can still see it, this mass freakout that you allude to. I would like to think that we are beyond that, evolutionarily speaking. I mean, these things aren't, sitting tripods through the streets and burning buildings. But I'm still not sure that we're ready to be displaced from the center of the universe yet again. I mean, I keep thinking about that sovereignty and the UFO essay that appeared in Leslie Kean's great book, and I completely agreed with these anthropomorphic conceits that we will not relinquish very easily. And yet, here we are, 12, 13 years later, and it looks like we're in the process of doing that. But I don't think, Jimmy, the full implications of what that means, I think we're a long ways from understanding what that, what the impact of that is. I think that's going to be a long transition.
I just have one more quick question, but I really need your idea on this, which is I find it curious that the Roosevelt and the Nimitz were both U.S. Navy battle groups, and that's where and then of course, 2019 in July, the East Coast, or off of San Diego as well, but not over a city. Tic Tac was not over Kansas. It was not a civilian thing. It was a U.S. Navy thing, and it's like beyond coincidence to me. What are your thoughts on that? That's why, again, I know less about this than I did 40 years ago. I'm beginning to come around to the idea that, maybe they've been here all along. Maybe they're maybe they're terrestrial. Maybe they're from the water. And I've been kind of interested in the theory that maybe the ocean and its hydrogen could perhaps be a potential source of fuel for these craft. I mean, it would seem like it would be a lot easier to work if you're studying this planet or somehow trying to explore it in very sublime ways. You'd want to be here on Earth rather than up there in space. What do you think, Jimmy? I that's a great. Wow! I'm thinking now. In that maybe, right? Maybe they have been here longer than we. That's a very, hydrogen, oxygen, water, seawater, fuel, a good place to hide. Maybe that's what we are dealing with, and the Navy was just in the way.
Possibly. I mean, the thing that I saw was out over the water, and the thing that I didn't see that showed up over my head, we were a mile or two out in the Gulf. I mean, And what was it, George Knapp, when he got those documents from the old Soviet Union, weren't the vast majority of those Soviet cases, weren't they over water as well? I just think the more I think about it, it seems like there's a massive connection between UAP, UFO, whatever, and the ocean or water, large bodies of water.
Now, in closing, Billy, obviously you quit your job last month, but this doesn't end here. What's up next?
Well, I will continue to try to get this Substack Life in Jonestown going. I'm not done with journalism. I've got a couple of novels that I've written. I think one of them could be killer. It's about the Aztec ball game, using condemned men to play it. But yeah, writing. I can barely even change a light bulb, man. I just don't have any skills. I can barely work a computer. I'm not much good for anything else. So I do write. I can still do that. Unfortunately, nobody reads anymore. So I'm kind of stranded. But I don't think I can not be engaged with this phenomenon, given where we are, given how far we've come. We got a tiger by the tail, and for now, I guess I want to try to hang on for as long as I can.
Billy, thank you so much, man. This show tonight was a long time coming, but what a great conversation, and I look forward to the next time you're on with us.
Jimmy, it's a pleasure. Thanks a lot, and you be careful out there. You hear?
You behave too as well, Billy Cox. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Jimmy. Okay, see you, buddy.
What a great conversation. And listen, devoidlives.com. If you want to read the smoothest stuff, go to devoidlives.com. And, of course, lifeinjonestown.substack.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Thank you so much, Billy Cox. What a great conversation. I'm going to take a quick break and come back and open up the phone lines because we don't have Fader Night this week, folks. So let's talk now. 747-228-2051. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church, and I'll be at the UFO MegaCon this June 6th through the 12th, 2021 in Laughlin, Nevada. The Laughlin UFO MegaCon is unique. It's 7 days of education and disclosure. It's unlike all other UFO conferences. The Laughlin UFO Mega Conference specializes in bringing you new people, offering new information and disclosure. All of this is offered at prices so low you can actually afford to be there. For instance, 7-night hotel packages, 1 or 2 people, start at just $320 inclusive. Education and disclosure is why the Laughlin UFO Mega Conference exists. Join us for all 7 days, or a half a week, or just a day or two, but join us. Go to LaughlinUFOMegaConference.com. Register now. The only thing keeping you from being with all of us is you. Just go to LaughlinUFOMegaConference.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, Billy Cox. That was a conversation, Billy Cox, the absolute very best. Thank you, Billy. That was just extraordinary. He's been doing this for a long, long time. He is our community. Thank you, Billy. That was I can't wait till he's on with us again. Now, I've got calls on hold, 747-228-2051. And I do want to say I hope that everybody had a great, fun, safe Memorial Day weekend. It's not over yet, right? We're still on Monday. You guys, probably most of you took the day off as well. But you're hanging out with me tonight if you are listening to me right now. And thanks for being here. Now, I want to say this. Last Thursday, to be specific, we had Ray Santilli on the show to talk about the NFT auction of a frame of that original Alien Autopsy film. And it was really funny for me to go through all of the email and the posts and social media about the show. And to the point about having Ray on. Right? Now, to be perfectly clear and transparent, this frame of the Alien Autopsy film being put up for auction is a news story. Right? There's no question about it. Anyone complaining about the show doesn't realize that it's a frame of the original film that was purchased from a cameraman in Florida, which, if authentic, would be the only image known to exist of an actual ET that was shot in or around Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. This isn't a frame from the Alien Autopsy hoaxed documentary. That was, of course, put together by Ray Santilli. What may be confusing to some, understandably, is that frames from the original film were inserted into the hoaxed documentary, allegedly, and all of this is according to Ray Santilli. The reason for me to have Ray on the show was, first, this was a news story, and second, to ask Ray quite directly on why he was doing this auction now. And he answered very honestly. He's doing it for money, right? Okay, cool. That's it. Case closed. That's why Ray was on the show. But for those who were complaining about Ray being on with us, most probably didn't listen to the show and didn't know what they were losing their minds about. And I wasn't about to go and make a statement about it. I wasn't going to do anything on social media. You know, what we did this past Thursday was nothing more than me doing my job, which is to present breaking news, put it out there, and move on. But let me take things a step further. The other reason for the show was a simple one, that hopefully someone will win the auction and take this frame of film and present it for study. Analyze it. Nobody's been able to do it ever. Just get it out of Ray's hands, man, and let's take a look at it. You know, if it is what Ray says it is, well, it's historic and it needs to be put to the test. I know that there are some out there who still believe that the alien autopsy is real, you know, that what Ray did was authentic, that it's the real deal. I do not. I knew from the first minutes that I watched it back in 1995 that it was fake, that it wasn't real. Thursday's show wasn't about whether his fake documentary was real or not. I think that history laid it out pretty clearly. Thursday was about whether this single frame of film is real. From the reel of film that he says he purchased in Florida from the alleged cameraman that shot it. We now know that the NFT auction site, Rarible, got shut down right after Thursday, or right before Thursday's show. That it was offline briefly as the Roswell auction was winding down with no bids. And it was then reset for another 3 days. And even that came and went, also with no bidders. Yesterday, I saw that the auction had expired and was extended for another 6 days, with the timer active in a countdown. Again, with no bids. Today, as you hear my voice, the alien autopsy NFT seemed to be removed from the page, the homepage of Rarible. I didn't understand that. And then all of the attempts to search for it, I couldn't find it. I also used the link I had for it, for the original page, but that page was gone. Now, I put in a couple of calls to my connections about the auction to see why it was so difficult to search for and locate, and I was sent the new link for the auction, and there it was. 5 days and 20 hours left. And now after this show, it's probably 5 days and 17 hours left. The countdown is active, but again, with no bids. Now, I have never seen an auction with so many issues and so many life extensions to keep the bidding active. You know, it's just another strange page in the alien autopsy story. Well, you know, I guess that my little pipe dream about this frame of film finally making its way to a lab for some study may never happen. And the controversy surrounding the alien autopsy will continue. Of course, we are used to this by now. It's just another day in the world of ufology. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. There was 5 days and 20 hours left right before the show. Will somebody step up and place a bid? The minimum right now is, you know, just over $1 million. I think it's 440 ETHs, which is declining in value as we speak. But right now, it's just over $1.1 million. I don't know if they are going to reduce the minimum bid, if they are going to open it up without a minimum bid and just let this go free form. I don't know. We'll find out. It's just a story that keeps changing, and I can't wait for tomorrow. But I just wanted to speak my piece on all of this without posting a big, long diatribe on social media. All right? All right. That's where we stand right now. Now I've got calls on hold, And let's go ahead and see who is up first. Again, 747-228-2051. Let's see who's up. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, this is John from Central Illinois. I talked to you here a couple of years ago. I'm the one that's got the Torino Cobra.
Oh, hey, man. How you doing, man? I'm
doing good, buddy. How are you?
You had the great bell bottoms and a heck of a haircut.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah. Do you still have that car?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
She's a beauty. Cobra Jet?
Yes. One of one.
Oh, man.
In the collar, trim, and everything that was ordered with.
Now, for everybody, this is John. He's posted his pictures of his Torino up in Twitter over the last couple of years, and I'm fully jealous. He knows I'm a Ford guy. And so that's who is on the phone with. What's on your mind, John?
Oh, nothing. I'm just out with my night vision, looking at the sky. Ain't seen nothing cool yet, but...
What kind of night vision do you have?
Yours.
Oh, you got mine.
Alex.
Yeah, right on.
Yes.
Do you have the blue or the green?
Blue.
Oh, man.
Ain't no other color to have, man.
Man, you're first class. Have you seen anything cool, though, with them? Maybe not tonight, but in the past?
Not tonight, but yeah, I have.
It's so amazing. In the last month, I would say not every night, but every other night, maybe every third night, I just go out into the yard and look up with my night vision to see whatever is out there. And once in a while, I'll catch something special. I did catch Starlink last week in Indianapolis. I didn't have my night vision with me. But to look up with the naked eye to see a string of satellites going across the night sky was one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever seen. It was incredible.
See, that's why I was out here. I've been wanting to see that, and I have not got to see it yet.
Yeah,
a little cloudy. So it'll get there.
It'll get there. So what'd you think of the conversation tonight with Billy Cox? He's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. It's... one of them things, yeah, sooner or later.
Well, yeah, that's exactly the point. And Billy, who's been at this for so long, after that incredible sighting in Cocoa Beach, which sounds like, Black Triangle, close to him, lasted about 10 seconds, turns, and then just phases out of sight and disappears in front of him. That's absolutely incredible. But that is a life-changing event. And here we are 40 years later of Billy reporting on this. And he's a little bit humble. He's probably listening right now. He's pretty humble about his writing, his style, his deep connections and the things that he has uncovered. He was right in the middle of the Wilson Davis document. And it's just an honor to sit and listen to Billy. I could have just turned off my microphone, right, and just let him go all night. Just an absolute incredible conversation.
Yeah, it is. The best thing I've seen now is broad daylight hiding in the clouds was one of them big triangles. I've seen that.
With your...
That's been about 5 years ago. Yeah, a big triangle. And I took my eyes off of it because I had a county cop down the road with a car that was off in the ditch. And I watched him, and I looked back up, and it was gone. But it was a triangle, looked like the clouds. I thought, whoa, that's not a cloud. That is something they're hiding.
And that's incredible, right? And what about Billy's, the 4 photographs that were taken when they were fishing? And the disappearing cloud with that saucer-shaped craft. Yeah, incredible. Billy's the best. John, thank you so much, my friend. Post some more pictures of your Torino.
I will, and I want to email you a question. I acquired a set of silver pre-race passes for next year's Indy 500.
No.
If you'd like to come back and go, you can go with me.
Where are you? Where are you located?
I'm 120 miles from Indy. I go over there to Lucas Oil Drag Strip, run that car.
It was so cool for me to be back in Indy during the time trials and watching that. And how many times I've been to the time trials, how many races I've been to, also with my father who just passed away, and we sat and just talked about all of that. But unless you've been to an Indy 500, you don't get it, right? You can hear you and I talk.
Never been to a race.
You don't get it.
Never been there.
You've never been to a race?
I've been a lot of them, but it's the drags over there.
Yeah.
Indy 500.
Right.
All that. Unless you've been there, you don't know nothing.
No.
You got to feel it. You have to feel it.
And smell it. There's a smell. There's a smell. When it's so funny. The cars are going around, right? The warm-up laps for the race. But when they get on it, right, that first lap, and then they come around, and that exhaust, that airplane fuel smell, and it just comes up into the stands. Oh, man. No, you've just got to go. John, thank you so much, my friend, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Have a good evening, and condolences over your father, and all that, buddy.
I appreciate.
You have a good one.
I appreciate that, John. Thank you so much. John's got passes for me for next year's Indy 500. That's what I'm talking about. I'm being serious though. The cars when they're doing the warm up lap, the engines aren't hot yet. They're trying to get them warmed up, the exhausted. But when that 33 cars comes around, that first lap when they're on speed, and that smell, and it's thick, and it just comes up. Oh man, that's a game changer, and that's a reason. I'm serious to go back to the race the next year. That first lap, man, when it just wafts up into the stands. And it's just thick. It's incredible. And the volume, how loud it truly is. I remember, before I get to the next caller, I was probably 10. And my first time trial. And I went with my two stepbrothers. And so we go. And I kind of got separated. We were not separated, but we were all in the first turn. But I had this little 110 Instamatic camera I got for my birthday. And you could go down, and this was in the first turn. So here's the wall, man. It's the wall. You could almost reach out if my arm was long enough and touch the track, right? And it's the first turn. And I could see all the way down the straightaway. And I've got my Instamatic camera. This is the truth. And so the fence, the protective wiring had these openings. It's like 6 inches square. And I could just get my camera out. And so you wouldn't see the fence and I could take pictures, right? All right. And I remember Tom Carnegie, voice of the 500. So it's the first car, first qualifier. Here we go. And I see now, and the cars were going around slow, I was like, okay, all right. Now, I hear Carnegie say, and he's on it, and boom, and I see this thing blip. It's a little black dot come out of the fourth turn. I was like, oh my God, how fast is that thing going? Of course, it's doing, 220 miles an hour. Whip, and he's coming straight at me. And I got my camera out of the fence, and I'm going to take a picture. And I could hear it coming. It's loud. I didn't take a picture. This thing came around me in the first turn, and it was so loud and so fast, I fell backwards into the arms of some woman behind me that I didn't know with her family, and onto her lap. And they were just laughing at me. I was like, holy crap, this is the coolest thing ever. And I got the smell. That's the Indy 500. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, it's Corey from Oakland.
Hey, Corey.
How you doing, Jimmy?
What's cracking, my
hey,
brother?
What's up, dude?
I thought you checked out.
How are you?
I thought you checked out. You said
no. I was going to, but you know what? I was being a jerk.
I don't think being a jerk is in your bloodstream, but it was funny because I said Corey.
I know. I got your tweet.
Yeah, man. I was like, cool. You can't go, man. There's a half hour left in the show. Nobody bails.
I know, right, man? I know. But how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You know you're the best, right? You know you're the best.
No.
Yeah, you're the best. You're the best. So I gotta.
Well, I think I'm kind of cool, but I don't know if I'm that cool.
Dude, you're the essence of cool. So what? Now I know that you listen to every show. You listen to every word. Tonight, Billy Cox. How out of control-y cool was that?
It was nice.
That's it?
It
was nice?
Okay, you know what I really think?
I don't know if nice is the word.
I didn't like the politics. That's all.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to lay it down.
Sure.
All right?
Sure.
I didn't like the politics.
What part?
That's okay.
What part? He didn't. You know what? I think he kept it pretty steady.
Well, okay, you know what? I don't want to be a jerk. I mean, because I called because I wanted to let you. I know the show's about to end, but I'm just going to say, like, I just kind of was a little questionable about, like, speaking about politics, and that's my own business. That's nobody else's.
Well, you
so
see,
we'll leave it there.
Well,
right?
But you bring up a good point, though, because this is such a politically free zone. When it does happen, it sticks out.
That's why I love your show.
Right.
Because we just kind of don't do that.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
I know it's difficult.
It's hard.
But it's okay. It's okay.
But
people want to bring it up a lot.
The part for Billy that is so fascinating to me is that he dedicated his career to this community and chasing answers. When it comes to UFOs.
Oh, indeed. Jimmy, indeed. He's fabulous. He's really cool. But it's just sometimes it comes up, and it's okay, right?
Well, but it's
okay.
But Corey, this. I think this is his point, and it's something that has to be talked about at some point. But is this that before 2017? Before this climate that we find ourselves in now, this entire subject was shunned by the newspaper game, by the media, by the Department of Defense, by the White House. It didn't matter. All of the official side of things, we were ridiculed. Now suddenly, it's not only being discussed by the Department of Defense and the military, it's now politicized. Now
it's politicized, and it's also. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
I'm sorry,
but it's now politicized, and we are going to see politicians taking sides. I had often
talking about UAPs, UFOs, and all of that, and that is so cool.
Well,
right?
Do you remember?
Go ahead.
Do you remember when I had said during the last election cycles, the last two? I wouldn't be surprised if a candidate goes after the UFO vote. when they find out how big, right? I mean, and go.
Yes.
They want to.
Yes, I do know.
Yeah, they want to lock down a nomination. Go after the UFO vote. If you're smart.
Yeah, why don't people talk about it anymore? I mean, they are now. You're correct. They are, but it's also very interesting that like all of a sudden like people are starting to talk about it, and it's very, very like okay, like I mean they're bringing it up like Jimmy Kimmel and like all these people like like that's so it's actually a wonderful time to live.
Well, last week, and I really have to drive this home. When Jen Psaki, right, stood there in the White House press room and talked about UAP.
Last name, doesn't she?
What's that?
She has an interesting last name.
Psaki.
Yeah,
she's been dealing with that her whole life. But the truth is, I don't think ever in a White House press briefing that UFOs have been talked about ever. I mean, not even once. I don't believe. I think that was the first time.
Well, yeah.
I can't think of it ever happening before.
Even right, man. I mean, it's interesting. It's a lovely time to be alive.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. When Billy said tonight, I need to live another 20 years, man. I need another 20, and I've that same thought has entered my mind.
Me too.
I need another 20. I need another 25 guaranteed. I got to ride this thing out.
Guess what? We'll need another 50.
No, don't say that. I might be able to hang for another 20. I could maybe if I can crank it out to 78.
It's going to end in a minute.
Yeah. Oh man! Thank you so much, Corey. Behave and be well, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
You be well as well. You know what? I'll see you tomorrow. Wait a minute. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Jimmy, I love your show, and you know what? It's going to be great.
Thank you so much, Corey. Have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see you right here tomorrow night.
You too, Jimmy. See you tomorrow.
That's Corey. And it's so funny. He tweeted out, all right, man, I got to bail. I was like, what? You're not going anywhere. And he chooses to call in. Corey's the best. Thank you for that. Yeah, what an interesting time. Wow. And, with the UFO community, it's always, next year. Well, we're in the middle of it now. It's not next year anymore. Oh, man. Let's see what happens in 2021. Here we are. Tomorrow is June 1st. The countdown begins, right? Absolutely incredible. And what a great week we've got coming up here with Fade to Black. And I want to remind everybody what's going on tonight. Of course, Billy Cox. Tomorrow night, Lisa O'Hara is with us for the first time, and her book, Abducted and Furious, that's tomorrow. Wednesday night, Lou Elizondo, going to get the results of our high school yearbook poll. We're going to get that out, too, as well. And then Thursday night, again, another first-time guest, 3 times this week, Ralph Blumenthal is going to be here to discuss his new best-selling book, John Mack, Believer. What a great week on Fade to Black. I want to thank all of you for spending your Memorial Day extended weekend with us tonight right here on Fade to Black. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Bateau, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll see everybody tomorrow night. Lisa O'Hara, Abducted and Furious. Until then, I want everybody to be safe It's time to fade to black.